This video will highlight one thing that I have observed a lot from many students in their quizzes with regard to equation of equilibrium. Now, I believe you should know by now what is equation of equilibrium, right? So basically, fundamentally, it is summation of forces equal to 0 and summation of moment equal to 0. Now, if I write something like this, summation of fx equal to 0, summation of fy equal to 0, summation of f equal to 0, summation of f equal to 0 vector. One of these can be wrong. Which one is it? Can you detect which of the four is wrong? It is this one, right? Because if this means the summation of all the magnitude of the force equal to 0, that tend to be wrong. So let's take a look at an example. Let's say we are drawing free body diagram of this one, and let's say we know the weight is 100 Newton, for example, right? So if we draw the free body diagram, we have 100 Newton downwards, we have FCD with 30 degrees, and then we have FBD 45 degrees. Now, if you do summation of fx equal to 0, of course, you will notify that which direction is taken as positive. Why is this important? It is because you already put a direction sense where we'll take this direction as positive, hence the other direction is negative. We're not just adding the magnitude. We are not. We're adding the magnitude with respect to a certain direction. Right, so in this case, you have FCD cos 30 degrees minus FBD cos 45 degrees equal to 0, right? And then you continue on. Now, if you do just simply this, let me write here, summation of f equal to 0, what does it mean? If you add all the force, is it 0? Meaning if you FBD plus FCD plus 100 equal to 0, this is definitely wrong. So this doesn't make sense. If you do summation of vector, then obviously you already have I and j plus I and j plus I and j. And of course, this one have positive I, positive j, this one have negative I, positive j, this one have negative j, right? And you add them all up, you'll get 0. That is correct, right? So this is one thing that I hope you understand. If you are my student, normally if you write something like this, I'll just give it that, because it's not right, it's wrong. So if you write this one, yeah, it's okay. If you write this one, it's also okay. And summation of fy equal to 0, for example, with a specified direction as positive, right? So that's number one. Number two, in the calculation, let me put this in a layman's term. Every line should tell a story. Every line should tell a story. So, for example, if you have question this one, right? We are focusing on this point, for example, right? So, if you have, okay, you should already draw the free body diagram, so I just simplify there. So, for example, the first line, summation of force in x direction is 0, let's say, and then with the direction to the right as positive. Does this tell a story? It does, right? It's just mentioned because this is in equilibrium, the summation of force in this axis should be 0. And then, okay, because you have here, let me FCD, this one is 30 degrees, right? And then FBD, this one 45 degrees. Okay, sorry for the messy free body diagram. So the next line is, on this left, you will write, for example, FCD cos 30 plus FBD cos 45 equal to 0, right? What does this mean? This is a continuation of the story. First, you are saying, because this is equilibrium, summation, if you add all the forces in x direction, it should be equal to 0. What's this story then? Basically, you actually add, so you go step further, I add up all the forces that is equal to 0. And then next is you solving, right? Meaning that, oh, I will solve this, and you get the answer. When I look at the quizzes, many students do something like this. Just an example, right? Summation of fx. Suddenly they write, for example, fcd cos 30 plus fbt cos 45. And then suddenly they do the calculation below this, right? Without these two, for example. What is the story here? If you want to say, okay, summation of force in x direction is this plus this. Okay, I know that. Okay, fine. And then suddenly you jump through a certain calculation where this story is never told, meaning you never say that the summation of this should be equal to 0, for example. If you write this, at least it is understood. You're saying that even though the sequence is weird, but because the sequence should be the first line, summation of all the forces in this direction is 0, and then this is the summation of all the forces representing this one, and then equal to 0, right? So the story goes on. In this case, yeah, basically, because in some people just compile two story into one, still acceptable. But some students did not even write this, so meaning that you never actually told the story of this is in equilibrium. Hence, if you add them all up, it equals to 0, and suddenly the straight away calculate, even though based on this, but it is equal to 0 is not mentioned. Hence, this is to explain why many of you that do something like this lose huge mark here, because you actually do not specify the story of equilibrium, right? So hopefully you understand that. Some students actually jump this step. For example, they write summation of fx equal to 0, for example, right? And then suddenly they already shifted. So for example, fcd cos 30 equal to fbd cos 45 degrees. Okay, how do they get this? Right? This is actually they skip one step where you actually have, okay, all the summation of fx should equal to 0. That is the next story, and then based on calculation you bring some of it to the other side. That's mathematical calculation, but you actually jump this story basically. That's why you will lose a lot of mark in this case, meaning that that line here have a significant marks in terms of the examination. So this is just to illustrate, in case you don't understand why you lose some marks when you do equation of equilibrium in this way, because you actually, this is equation of equilibrium, right? This is a manifestation of this, right? Summation of all equal to 0. If you actually jump that, you actually jump the story of equilibrium, so you lose the mark there. Anyway, so that's just to indicate why and what is the proper way to tell the story in terms of the equation. Now, I do understand that some students say, why are you bothering about this? Because as long as we can get the right answer. Yes, that is correct in terms of for your own sake, you just want the answer. But unfortunately, because this subject, at least in this university and how I understand it, is that we want to train you to show the step by step so that others can understand how it progress, and all the fundamental steps should be there. So if you skip that one, unfortunately those marks cannot be given to you because you skip that steps. Okay, all the best in your exam. See you next time.